Hey everybody, KOH here. So I haven't actually been making videos recently, mainly because I've been in the process of moving. I've actually been in this process for a couple months now, but it was only just recently that we wound up kicking into high gear. So that's why I've been away and not making videos. But anyway, this video, we're basically going to be going over some of the thoughts that I currently have right now when it comes to PSO2, because I feel like it's good to get it out there. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of things going down when it comes to like SG Scratch and a lot of the braver thoughts and a lot of things that have been going on in PSO2 community. And I kind of have some very differing opinions, but ultimately things that have already been mentioned so far. So first off, let me start off with one of the things that people have asked me over the couple days and things that I actually went over on Twitter, which is what I thought about the SG system. So recently the SG system kind of had a lot of backlash because of the way that they wound up implementing things. So previously, whenever they introduced SG scratches, basically they would introduce the SG scratch and the outfits, and then those outfits would not come back until later on. What I mean by later on, I mean they won't come back until there was something of a revive. And for the global version, the only time that we've ever had an SG revive was for the rewind scratch, whereas the Japanese version wound up having revivals coming close to the end of the base PSO2 lifespan. What I mean by that is the time where basically it was like NGS is about to release. This was basically the golden standard behind SG scratches for about the last 9 years when it comes to the Japanese version, and also for the last year when it comes to the base PSO2 version over in the global side. Now, the problem that a lot of players actually had when it came to the SG scratch is that some of the items that they may have wanted didn't exactly last as long as they had want, because by the time they had enough SG to be able to get like a guaranteed ticket to be able to grab an item of their choice, the scratch would expire or they'd be moving on to something else, because a lot of players are also buying things like material storage. Eventually they wound up releasing less SG scratches and then leaving them up for a longer period of time for more players to then be able to take advantage of them. But then closer to the end of the base PSO2 lifespan, they kind of just kept pushing out SG scratches when it comes to the Japanese side, and then we wound up getting the revivals or the rewinds at the end of the base PSO2 life cycle, which would be the more permanent ones. All right, anyway, flash forwarding to what happened in NGS and why people were pissed off. Basically, they wound up having a scratch that then lasted the entire first month of the game. So in addition to the free daily scratches, a very welcome change, they also then basically led players to believe that after that scratch was over, a new one would take its place and that would be it. At no point did they wind up saying, hey, by the way, these items will be available in the very next scratch. So Sega had already set the precedent that when an SG scratch had ended, there would be another one to take its place, and these items would not come back until there is a revival. So while this is going to be a rotating thing, kind of like how fun scratches were previously, where they would release one and then another one would take its place and they'd kind of have rotating items going back and forth, they didn't communicate this in any sort of way. They kind of just sprung it on people and said, oops, our bad, we didn't know. So players were pissed off. Me personally, I'm actually very welcome of this change, because now I don't have to feel like I have to like rush to get everything in the SG scratch and waste all my SG in trying to get that. But at the same time, I kind of wish I didn't spend as much SG as I did on the first scratch for SG, because now I feel like I've been slapped in the face, and that's where the problem begins. So again, is the SG change that they wound up doing a welcome one? Absolutely. But it does feel like right now communication is lacking, because had I not spent all the SG before, I'd probably be happier about them, you know, rolling things out the way that they are now. And then moving on, which is kind of related topic, but also not, going back to things like the defense quests, which we now know are urgent quests. I was under the assumption, based on the way that they've communicated to us before previously, that when defense quests were going to be released, they were going to be something that was completely standalone. They were not going to be tied to the urgent quest scheduling or anything of the sort, but now we know that they will be. Even though it's not a schedule, it's something that's completely random, and you know, that's an entirely different conversation for another day. Yeah, so when you set expectations like this is going to be this brand new thing because you're hyping it up to be that way, and then it turns out to be something else, that's because you failed on communication. And it's weird because like right now, I don't think that Phantasy Star is a bad game. I just feel like they're making bad decisions when it comes to the way that they wound up advertising a lot of the things that they're implementing in the game, and then also with a lot of the content implementations, because some way that even when they're making more content, there's still nothing to do, so therefore there being no content. But if they were a little bit more communicative with their mindset behind certain things, and like, hey, this is going to be an urgent, these are the things that we have planned for the roadmap that we've set so far, these are the things that are going to be included in these specific types of content, and I think that's going to be a good thing. And companies have already followed suit in doing things like this. Being left in the dark and then having to play the guessing game is kind of a problem. Bounding that with a lot of the other issues that we wound up having with the game so far, like balancing issues and stuff like that, it's kind of telling that this is a very different Sega than the one that we wound up seeing for the last 8 years when it came to base PSO2 Phantasy Star. Because for a long time, even though there were certain content directors who definitely didn't do great by the game, one of the things that I do remember players being very adamant about is that Sega was very communicative with their community, being like, hey, this is what we have planned and this is what's going to be going on in the future. Now it's kind of not like that, and I'm wondering why that changes, because that change definitely didn't happen with the release of Global. That change happened with the release of New Genesis. But yeah, so I mean, right now the way that I feel about Phantasy Star is I love the game, I love everything about it, I love what they're going to be doing with the game, but I want them to communicate that to me and other players so that way I can continue to stay hype about it. Because whenever I get slapped in the face, I can only get slapped in the face too many times before I'm like, I don't like this anymore. Like, cause I mean, you slap me once or twice, like maybe I like that a little bit. No, I'm kidding. But like, no, it's not always going to be something that I enjoy, because I might take the first time you do it to me as like, hey, that was an accident. All right, I forgive you. When you do it back to back and so many times in a row, it's kind of like, what the hell just happened? But yeah, those are my thoughts so far, you know? As far as like Braver goes, I think Braver is actually a kind of fun class when you want to playing bow, and then Katana needs a little bit more work, but it's not terrible. It's just Katana definitely doesn't feel good. And I think one of the reasons why it doesn't feel good is because its normal attacks basically make you almost completely stationary whenever you use them. So the enemy can literally take 2 steps out of range and then boom, you're done. You can't hit them anymore. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with Braver. But then again, I haven't put that much time into it, so I'll probably be making an entirely separate video with my complete thoughts about that later. Then just to give you guys a little bit more into what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, where like I'm moving and stuff. By the way, I'm a VTuber now. So if you made it to the end of the video where you're here and you're listening to this portion of the video, hey, let me know your thoughts on this model right here. You'll actually be seeing this in future videos, and you'll also be seeing future content related to this model, as well as new thumbnails and all that other stuff. It's not done yet. We're still going to add some facial tracking stuff for the model right now. And yeah, so if you're also interested in commissioning the artist that's, you know, behind the genius of this model, then yeah, if you guys want to do me a favor, click the link down below. It'll take you to his commission page where you guys can find out his prices as well as everything that he's worked on previously. He does a lot of things for VR chat as well as for VTubing, so please do me a favor, commission this guy. Give him your entire wallet, please, because he deserves it. But yeah, thank you guys again for watching. As always, I'm gonna end the video out here. I'm actually gonna be putting more concise videos going forward, like you know, because now that I'm actually in the process of being done moving, we're still trying to sell the current house that we're in before we do our final move. And then our final move is actually gonna be on August 23rd. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. But anyway, guys, stay awesome, stay beautiful. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.